Good day, Grand Lakers. It's April 1st, 2026, and I want to welcome you to my next Rodcast. I'm Sam Williams, and it is truly an honor and a pleasure to be here to bring this forward to you. This Rodcast is about legacy, community, and the people who built this lake. Today, I will be telling you about how my grandfather started the bait farm, which created the sports center. So let's start with your lake level lowdown. Our lake level is still at 742.06. The surface temperature average of about 63 degrees. The water clarity is sustained. It's a lot clearer down south towards the dam. The winds are south-southwest at 10 to 20 miles an hour. So stay safe out there and look out for and have fun on the water. So the crappie bite is on jigs and minnows right now, and about 7 to 10 feet of water. I do have some people up in the elk where the water's about 70 degrees. They are starting to catch them in shallower water, 2 to 4 feet. So the spawn, it's getting ready to start. The mid-lake, the water temperature is about 62 degrees, and people are picking at them. But the crappie that are being caught right now are really nice crappie. So after what happened last year, I'm expecting this year we're going to see a really good spawn, and we're going to catch a lot of fish. So I predict that the warm weather and even with all the wind and the rain that we're going to have, the ground is so dry. I think it's going to absorb most of the moisture. If we do have a little runoff, I don't think it's going to hurt it too bad. But I'm pretty sure that these fish are going to take off at any time. And with this rain being said, you need to look out for those morels. I haven't heard of anybody getting morels yet. So keep your eye out. They're going to pop out of the ground anytime, and it's going to happen quick. The bass fishing is really good. They're catching some nice fish. I heard of an 8-pounder caught last weekend and a couple of 7s. So the fishing is good for the tournament guys. The catfishing is still good using cut shad. And we're selling a lot of night crawlers. Night crawlers seem to be working really well also. So white bass are still up in Spring River. So you can get up there and throw gay blades at them, little jigs, and all kinds of stuff. And everybody knows what that little thin gay blade is. It's got really sharp hooks on it, but those white bass really tear that thing up. And we sell a lot of them. So you can come on down here and we can show you exactly. We also have MEP spinners and rooster tails, which work really well also. Spoonbill, they're still catching spoonbill. They're still stacked up. So you can still get out there and catch the spoonbill. So the whole month of April ought to be really good for that. So you should be able to get them up at the Miami Park and all around the Neosho River. Should be really good. Yeah, go. So I heard that already did that. Oh, okay. In the major league fishing Toyota tournament, the TJ Martin won first place with 59 pounds total. Don't. We had a fine group of young men for the high school tournament on Sunday. Little John and Oxidine weighed in at 1566 pounds, and they were the champions. Congratulations to all the competitors out there. You did a really good job. Hey. So the legacy, all I'm going to talk about this time is how my grandparents came from Northern California to this area to start the bait farm. So my grandparents lived in Northern California in Vallejo, and they had a candy store. And my grandpa worked for Western Union. And back in that time, I think he told me he made anywhere about 35 cents an hour. So it was, a lot of money to save up at that time to make a trip out here. He had a vision of the bait farm since he heard about the Pensacola Dam being constructed with Grand Lake of the Cherokees. So he came out here and he moved to Carthage, Missouri. And that's where they lived on a little farm out there. And at that point in time, it's when he traveled around looking for property to build this bait farm. And he ended up finding a piece of property over in Turkey Ford, and it had a spring coming out of the side of a hill that had about 150,000 gallons of water a day coming out of the hill. He went to the bank and he talked to the banker, and the banker had a lot of trust and belief in my grandpa. And the bank loaned him the money. You know, back then you didn't have all those contracts and stuff. You know, a handshake meant more than anything to these people, and you just lived up to your word. So after he got the property and he got the bait farm purchased, they built a small house for them to live in. They didn't have any plumbing back then. They had outhouses. So in the process, all that everybody knows that around Delaware County, it's solid rock. So my grandpa started hand digging these ponds. These ponds were 100 foot by 100 foot by 4 foot deep, solid rock. And my dad, from the time he was about 5 years old, carried those rocks and started building a rock wall around the whole property. Once my grandpa got 4 of the ponds built, he was able to get them all plumbed together, and he built a bait shack, and he got his minnows started. And people found out about the bait farm, and the lake was filling up. The fish were coming in from the heavy rains from other lakes and rivers, and the minnow business started up. So they had people coming from all over to buy minnows from my grandpa. After he was able to start making money, he was able to hire a dozer. And the dozer came in, and through the next few years, dug out he had a total of 44 ponds on that property that he had interconnected, and was able to divert water and then the plumbing from pond to pond to be able to move his bait around. It was a beautiful place. He had waterfalls, and it was just a real treat to go out to the bait farm. So the when they had the bait shack, I can remember a story that they told me one time that Dad was getting minnows for a customer, and he got bit by a water moccasin. And my grandpa, he told Grandpa, he said, "Dad, I got bit by a snake." And the customers were standing there, and my grandpa told my dad, he goes, "Well, son, you just tend to all those customers, and then we'll tend to that snake bite." So back in the day, uh, kerosene was of a different chemical balance. So you could pour kerosene on a snake bite back then, and it would actually extract some of the venom out of your skin, and that's what they did back in those days. So I can remember as a little kid, my brother and I were out there playing on the waterfall, and I thought it was funny that the snakes were swimming around. I pushed him in. I guess I shouldn't have done that, but it was something we remember to this day. So another thing that my grandfather had made for us to have fun with was he had bought a bunch of crank telephones. And I don't know where he got all these telephones, but he had a place in the bait shack. It had like a little river running through the inside, and there was a bunch of perch in there. And we made it to where he could take that wind-up telephone, and my brother and I would stick those bolts and wires down in the water, and we'd crank that phone, and we'd stun those fish. And we, I guess that was our entertainment back in the day. We thought that was pretty fun. So I don't know how many people have ever tried to do that, but they do it. They still do it today in large quantities to check fish population in lakes. So they got to a point where the crawdads got into the minnow ponds, and the crawdads were eating the minnows. And so my grandpa started staying in these ponds and getting these crawdads out, and he had 55-gallon drums. And he was putting all these crawdads down in these drums and pouring kerosene over them and burning them. Well, one time there was a guy out of Kansas City that came down, and he was getting a lot of bait, and he saw my grandpa putting those crawdads down in that barrel, getting ready to burn them. And he said, "Hey, wait a minute, dude." He goes, "I'll buy all those." So my grandpa then started selling all the crawdads, and I kind of wondered at that point in time how much money that he burned up, because he didn't know. I guess that's how you learn, when it costs you money. So the the bait farm ended up being, my grandmother she loved animals, and she had pet coons, squirrels, rabbits, birds, groundhogs. She had all kinds of animals. Well, Harold Inslee, everybody knows the friendly fisherman, got real tight with my grandpa. They became very, very good friends, and they started doing a TV show out at the bait farm. And it was like a wildlife series, and they featured my grandmother taking care of all the animals, and how the bait farm process worked. And from that point in time is actually how the sports center idea came up. So back to the banker. So Grandpa went back to the bank, and banker saw what he did all these years, had faith in him, and that's how that's how the Grand Lake SportsCenter started. So when my grandfather bought the sports center, this is what it looked like. It was a Chrysler dealership, and it had gas pumps even out front. So the Chrysler dealership moved up the street. This building came available, and the bank believed in my grandpa, and that's how it started. So when you come down that ramp and you come into the main store, you can see where it was the showroom floor for the cars, and everything else was the bay garages to work on the cars. So they started turning it into the sports center, which at that point in time, Harold Inslee, as my grandpa ended up being the biggest Eagle Claw and Zebco dealer in the Midwest. I mean, people were coming from everywhere to stock their stores. He got into the marine accessories. He had the boat mechanics. He was the largest Johnson motor dealer in the Midwest. They had all the aluminum boats and trailers out front, and they serviced everything they sold. So they Harold Inslee started doing fishing shows in front of the sports center, and it really got things cooking along. The sports center was kind of like a mini Bass Pro before there was a Bass Pro. It was a real exciting place to go to. The uh, so the My grandpa started putting on bass tournaments, and back in the day, they they had my dad had a they had a 65 horse Johnson on the back of a ski boat, and if you can see in this picture right here, that's my dad inside that boat, and they had 20 of those aluminum boats with engines on them, and my dad would pull those around like a train. And whatever resort was having a tournament, he would pull those over and drop them off, and everybody had the same piece of equipment when they went fishing. And at the end of the day, he'd go back and pick them up and pull them back over to Blue Bluff, where they had the marina. So back in the day, it was pretty interesting to see how that worked. Um, Here's some of the other pictures of the store when it was older back in the day. I got another one right there. And as the store progressed, I mean, it got to that. When it got to that point, I mean, this was the place to go. I mean, everybody came to the Grove Sports Center to get their fishing and all their souvenirs and lake supplies. Uh, the I know my grandpa started the Grand Lake Association and the Chamber of Commerce in the back of this store. And there was no money for these organizations. So he just donated the rooms, and he helped build these organizations to what they are today. So that's where it all started. And he so he got into the marine sports, and he got into all the water skis and tubing, and they had the water ski competitions all over this lake, and it just blew up from there. How this became the place to go to have your fun in the water. Uh, After when he built Blue Bluff, after it went from here from the store, when he started building the resort, it was a lot of hard work, but it was a beautiful place when he finished it. And I tell people all the time, if you've ever been out there, that that walkway that goes from the parking lot out to the heated dock, he hand dug those poles when the lake was down at a super drought time. So it's hard to imagine that you could be down that deep just hand digging in the dirt, putting in that bridge. But that's what he did. So Blue Bluff had the first commercial heated fishing dock on this lake. So everybody would go in there, and he had he found a bunch of seats out of a movie theater, and he had that whole thing lined up with those movie theater seats. And I can remember going in there as a little kid, and people were in the seats and standing up. The place was packed. And my grandfather walked in with a 5-gallon bucket full of minnows. And as he walked in, he poured all those minnows down inside that well. And I can remember it wasn't about a minute, and the crappie were boiling the water inside that dock. I don't know if you'll ever see that ever happen again. I don't think anybody'd waste that many minnows at one time but my grandpa. But he did. And it was quite an experience. So after Blue Bluff was successful and got going, he developed Blue Bluff Heights. So Blue Bluff Heights is just right around the corner on the bluff. Now, if everybody knows where that blue elevator shaft over off the bluffs by Blue Bluff, my grandfather put that in. So the bait shack was up on top of the hill, and you got all your bait, and then you went over to the elevator, and you got in the elevator, and you rode it down to the marina. And the marina had a big flat dock down there. They had another enclosed dock down there. They had a little ship store down there, and they had boat stalls down there too. So there was quite a good sized marina down over in that area too. And I can remember one night, it was night, and my brother and I wanted to go fishing, and the gar were running really hard. And we were so excited because there was big fish, and they were right on the surface. So we get down there, and my grandpa, we all get in the elevator. So we start down the elevator, and the light's on. Well, you know how it is at night on the water when the light's on. There's mosquitoes, there's spider webs, there's all kinds of stuff that's built up inside this elevator. So my brother, he got really excited, started freaking out a little bit. So he started swinging his fishing pole around inside that elevator. And he ended up hitting my grandpa in the face, and it cut him. And he goes, "Dag nabbit." Well, when my grandpa said "dag nabbit," that was like the you know what word today. He was mad. And we got so busy with what was going on, when you got down to the water, you had to turn the elevator off. You had to stop it. Well, there was so much going on inside that elevator, nobody stopped it. Before we knew it, we're all standing waist deep in water. So that was the end of our fishing trip for that night. It was back up the elevator, and we were in big time trouble. So those are some of the memories that I had down at that Blue Bluff Heights. You got so coming here as a kid. I mean, my parents flew us down here every summer to stay with the grandparents. Can you imagine coming in here? Your grandpa owns this, all the free tackle, all anything in the store you want. I mean, how cool is that? And then to go out to the Blue Bluff and free boats, and go to the cafe and eat for free, and you knew everybody down there. I mean, life was good. Some of the best memories that I can remember. Um, my I can remember one time I loved doing trot lines, and I just ran trot lines all the time. I thought that was cool. And one time I caught a turtle, a big turtle, and I got up there and I got all my catfish off, and I had that turtle, and I didn't want that turtle, and there was a big dumpster out in, or trash big barrel out in front, and I took that turtle and chucked it in that barrel. And that guy that was running the cafe for my grandpa, he came down the hill yelling and screaming, "What the heck are you doing? You just threw away the best thing you caught." And I said, "I don't know about that." But, that guy, he cleaned that turtle and cooked it. And I went down later that night to go fishing in the dock. And that was the first time I got to try turtle soup. Tastes like chicken, It was okay, nothing to brag about. So, uh, my memories as a child here when I visited in the summer was just wonderful. You can't believe how many high school kids have worked in this store through the years. I mean, they still come in and talk about it. They come in here now. They have kids, and there's a lot of times people come in town and they'll come in here and go, "This place is still here," And I'm going, "Yeah, they're still doing the same thing." So the I'm so proud to follow in my grandpa, and my dad's footsteps. Everything that they've created, everything that they've done for this area. I really try to be a player for the community. I really believe in this place, and I will always do anything I can to be a Grand Laker in this area. So I would. Uh, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Oh, while we're waiting here, I want to show you. Back in the day, this was the Ridge Runner logo. Okay, so this is why there was a mean bird back then, not like it is today. So So today, the Grand Lake Sports Center, we're known for our fishing tackle, water sports, marine accessories, shooting sports, gifts, and apparel. We have free maps and local referrals for lodging, boat rentals, restaurants, anything that you need to do in this area. You can come here and call us and ask us, and we'll steer you in the right direction. And most everybody that has a place of business knows to have their business known in this store so we can refer them to them so you can see a good time and stay busy. So in closing, I just want to thank all of our servicemen and women that are overseas, and what they're doing for us so we can live in a place like this and be free. We want to remember the reason for the season for this weekend, and what Jesus Christ did on the cross for us, and shed his blood to save us. And we just want to make sure that Grand Lake is a place that's more than water. It's a place of memories and family time. And I just want to say this is Sam Williams, and I want to thank you for watching and listening to my Rodcast. I hope you enjoyed what I talked about today, and come in and see us at the store. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.